great. Quickly gets it back to Timms. The crossover. Carly Keats alone in the corner. That was good. Excellent job by the Lady Eagles. A big three-pointer made. Backcourt pressure. Shear gets it taken away. Here's Timms. A three made by Timms and a foul called. Keats the long three. Nails it. Carly Keats.
Hey Golden Eagle fans, I'm Southern Miss Stadium announcer Jackson Walker, and you're listening to Nasty Bunch and Beyond.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined by my co-host, Drew Johnson, and we have a very special guest today. It's the head coach of the Lady Eagles basketball team, Coach Missy Bilderback. Drew and I were very familiar with Coach Bilderback from her days at PCS, Presbyterian Christian School, and all the success she had there. So, Coach, we're very, very happy that you decided to join us. We've been wanting to do this for a while, ever since we found out that you were going to be the head coach here. It's been wild, I know, for you too. But I'm really appreciative that you're giving us some time today.
No, absolutely excited to be here. I've known you two guys a long time and think the world of you, and so thank you for all you do and all you do for Southern Miss athletics too. So
yeah, well, look, we got some technical stuff. We'll get in. Basketball stuff we'll talk about, but before we get started, I had to ask you, what does the Bilderback family eat for breakfast in the morning? Because not just the Lady Eagles off to a 5-0 start, looking great. Your husband Chip doing a great job over at Columbia. He's undefeated still. Your son's a senior there, and it looks like they're really competing for a state championship now. What are y'all doing at the Bilderback house?
No, I think it's that old saying, you surround yourself with good people and good things happen, and just try to do our very best every day. And I'm really proud of Chip and Drew. It's been fun to get to watch them this year, and for Drew to be able to be back at Columbia and Chip to be able to come back. They've got a really fun team, and so hopefully they got a big challenge tomorrow night with Pass Christiane. So hopefully they'll be able to get that one and move on. But it's been fun for sure. It's definitely it doesn't always go your way. This fall it's gone our way so far. So obviously it's more fun winning than losing. That's so right. We'll take it. So
well, as far as your team, like I said, started out your era here as the head coach. Fantastic. 5-0 so far. Really, the only close game has been the one on the road.
Right.
It ended up, and honestly, I thought that was a little bit closer than what it should have been because the other team was hitting some threes there at the end. But I mean, overall, what do you like about this team in the early stages of the season? Because as the season goes on, chemistry and everything should improve.
Right.
But it seems like you're already clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah. I think, a couple things. One, their ability to shoot the ball overall has been something that I think, is going to give us an opportunity to be really good. They shoot it better than really any team I've coached as far as just makes and miss in practice. They're always in the gym, and, when you can make shots and you can spread the floor and you can play at that pace, like it gives you opportunities. We're getting a lot of possessions right now and we're converting on a lot of possessions. We're making, our percentages have been overall pretty good. But overall, they're just a really good group of people. They work really hard. They're a joy to coach. They come in, they approach each day. And you don't always get that, especially when you're dipping into the portal so heavy, Right. And so I'm just really proud of just their unselfishness. We've got, players that started a year ago that are coming off the bench for us. We've got players that maybe took 15 to 20 shots a year ago at another place that's, taking 9 to 10 shots, just doing whatever the team needs, for us to win. And so their unselfishness, their offensive ability to score the ball. And then more recently, we've really improved in body and I think defensively and rebounding. Like when we go with our smaller lineups, we've got to be better rebounding the ball. And so I've definitely seen some growth there, but really overall, just fun group to coach. Love my staff, my team, just trying to soak up every moment with them, see if we can, see how good we can be. Like you say, we should, if we can stay healthy, we should be able to get better and better as the year goes.
Yep. Health a big part of it for sure.
It's most of it, honestly.
Yeah.
So, you came to Hattiesburg, former Southern Miss alumni.
Right.
You've already reunited a lot of former players of yours under this on your team. So one might say that you've already kind of gotten a head start on chemistry as far as having people who already know your system. How big of a role has that played in y'all's success
Yeah,
this year?
I think that's a great point. I mean, obviously, I think that was something we had hoped would happen. I joke all the time. My biggest fear and the only negative of taking this job was that all my kids from Monroe would have to go in the portal, and
Yep.
we had talked them all into staying, and so I knew they'd have to go into the portal, and so I had to then re-recruit them again, and so which was an easy sell to come here to Southern Miss, but having those players that are familiar with our staff, our system, me as a head coach, they're familiar with each other. We got a head start, absolutely. So a jump start on chemistry, and we sprinkled in, obviously some big time transfers around those kids. Carly Keats, but she has played for us before. Haley Breland is someone we've known a long time, and then you're sprinkling in the Whitney Harts and the Morgan Seepers, and so all of these kids, you're still having to put them together. But when you have that core where you can call out a drill and there's a demonstration, it just makes it easier.
It's so much easier,
right.
Coach. It's a luxury, I would
right.
even say.
Right.
So.
You almost feel like in this transfer portal world, even though there was a transition and we had transfers come in, you almost feel like you had retention because you have on the roster 6-7 kids that have played for you before. So it feels more like retention than a true transfer situation.
Well,
Great question.
Looking back at your legacy, your coaching, obviously PCS, Jones County Junior College,
right.
which that they changed the name.
Yeah.
But looking back at your coaching legacy, like how have you adapted your philosophy to this level, D1?
Yeah.
Getting things where you want them to be. How have you made that transition?
Well, the two biggest transitions obviously is the recruiting, like the nationwide and the net that you have to have recruiting. I mean, I think as far as like daily interactions, I kind of always said what's funny about it when I was at PCS, when I got the opportunity to go to Jones, a lot of my PCS kids would come back and say, man, I just don't love it like I used to, and not having fun, and it's not the same. So I kind of had a mindset of like, I'm going to go to Jones and I'm not going to let the business side of it overrun the personal side and just the connections and the relationships and that part. And then when I had an opportunity to go to Monroe, I said the same thing. I know it's business and I can be fired really quickly if I don't win, I don't do well. I know there's all those, but let me just try to manage it the same as I did at PCS and Jones. And so, and we found some success, so I just don't want to drop that relationship part. But the two biggest adjustments for me has obviously been the nationwide recruiting, which we did a lot of that at Jones. We were competitive on a national level for junior college, and obviously we had kids from New York, from Mozambique, from all over the world, country, but at the same time, just that consistent presence in recruiting, but also managing a big staff. When I was at PCS, it was me and Coach Lofton, me and Coach Smith, me and those are my guys. And so when I was at Jones, it's been me and Coach Pittman, Coach Coop. Those guys were with me 10 years, a long time. And so I think just managing a big staff. Now I'm managing 8 to 10 people. And so just the organization, making sure I do a great job there. And everybody's on the same page and united, which I've got great people, and that makes that easier.
Yeah. You can tell. I mean, look, when I was at PCS, I played football. I played basketball up until 8th grade. But I was more built for football, and I had fun doing that. But basketball has always been my first love.
Right.
And we've even talked about, when Coach Lofton was coaching us in 7th and 8th grade, one of the things he used to say is, it's not practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect. Stuff like that sticks with you. And then I remember your teams there. Obviously, it's a different perspective from your players and everything, but I'm not shocked that they came back and said, hey, we're not feeling the same way in this other system, because that was some of the most fun times being a student at PCS that we ever had, going up to the state championship games in Jackson, and it was a great time.
It just kind of became a big family. It was a really special time. I'll never forget, my memories. I looked up the other day, and one of our home games, and there was a family sitting right there to the left. There was a family, there was 4 PCS just families, and it just almost teared up, because I'm like, man, those relationships have stayed strong, and they're just great people and great memories for sure. Yeah.
Coach Ladner, we talked about it with him too, him being a former player and everything here, and he said there's extra pressure that comes with that.
Right.
But then on the flip side, if you win and you win big, that it's also going to be that much more sweet.
Absolutely. It would be like, you talk about a dream come true, to be able to come into this program in a town I love, a university I love, and be able to do something really special here. There's just a different level of sweetness or excitement about that. It's just kind of cool to be able to, like, Coach K has been back a lot, Coach K James, and she'll be in the huddle, before practice, and she'll point up to the banners, and she's like, we got to get back to the, NCAA tournament. But, to do something like that but is always going to be special, but to have a chance to do it here, I mean, that would be pretty incredible. So the goals are lofty. I mean, those are high goals, something that's not been done in a while, but that's really one reason I wanted to make the change too, is I felt like, I would have the support here, and if you'd have the resources and support to be able to, strive for those type goals.
Yeah, well, I definitely think y'all can do it. It's been what, since the mid to late 90s? Since
like
the last
96, 98.
Yeah. So I mean, it's looking good so far, but.
So, well, it's always a tough challenge. You got to get a little lucky, and good things have to happen, but certainly would be a dream come true for sure.
So you touched on this a little bit earlier, but the late, great Joy Lee McNeilis left an absolute massive legacy here at Southern Miss. How have you reflected on that during your short time here so far, and how has that impacted everything moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's obviously a tremendous responsibility because of the history, and, Coach wasn't just loved by her players and teams. I mean, she was loved by the entire community and the university. And so, in a lot of ways, it's a difficult situation to step into, because it's a very sad situation. That homecoming isn't necessarily, it's bittersweet in a way, because of the way it happened. But at the end of the day, there are so many traits. I know when Coach passed, like, just talking to former players and different people, there are so many traits that Coach had, and I think just trying to make her proud every day with approaching each day with a great effort and being a workaholic. I mean, she just would grind, and she would teach her players how to fight through adversity, and and to do things the right way with character and integrity. And so I think it's a situation where it is a lot of pressure. It's a big responsibility, and but it's something certainly we're going to work hard to always honor her in the program, obviously. And and Coach James has been a big part of that too. I mean, Coach James and Coach Joy were very close, and so having her around so much is I think helped bridge that a little bit.
No, I imagine having history walk around with you every single day.
Yeah,
I bet that's been tremendous.
Yeah, it's a really cool deal. It just, Coach K, she's so she's been out of the game for a while, but she's so sharp, and she understands, she understands the rev share and transfer portal and things that were not even around during her time, but she's going with us to Cancun next week, so we're excited. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be a fun trip to have Coach K, and we'll have a good time. And so, but just I would be crazy not to lean on her and try to hear her wisdom and input, and just really knowledgeable and just a wonderful person.
Oh, I imagine just her presence has been absolutely priceless.
Oh, 100%.
Well, look, obviously it's early in the season, but like I mentioned earlier, y'all have gotten off to a hot start. Also mentioned earlier, this program hasn't been back to the NCAA tournament since the late 90s, I believe, mid 90s. Where is this team at based on where you saw them being at 5 games into the season? And I mean, what are your goals? Are your goals the same as they were day one, or have they kind of been heightened a little bit now because of the start?
Yeah, no, I think our goals day one coming in, I think that was one thing a lot of our players, when they made the decision to come here, they said, I want to be able to, a lot of them were at some SEC programs at one point, or, different programs, American Conference programs, and they wanted a chance to compete, to have a chance to go to a tournament, and play in the postseason and go to an NCAA tournament. So that was a draw, I think, for several of them, and also an opportunity to play close to home. So there are so many kids that came back home. But I think where we are right now, I think I've been encouraged. I think the thing that I knew that we would have talent, and I knew, that there's still some things we've got to figure out. I've talked a lot about lineups, 2 posts, 4 guard, kind of how we want to go. And you saw our bigs in here working a second ago. I think, our bigs are really young, and as they continue to get experience and grow and get better, I think that's going to be a big boost for us, just having that post play and that size. But I think, what I've been impressed with is their ability to stick together. Even when we went to Jacksonville State, shots weren't falling. you know, they were hitting a lot. Some calls weren't necessarily going our way. Some things were happening. And, you know, I've just had a lot of teams over the years. And this team, you know, they don't really turn on each other. They've never have in practice. They compete. They push each other. They go really hard. But overall, their attitude and the way they stick together, I think their goals are the same. Sometimes you get to kind of the latter part of your career and you figure out, hey, I just want to win, you know,
right.
And I'm not worried about getting 15 shots, or I'm not worried about this and that,
if
you know.
If you shoot under 40% from the field and you can come away with a road win,
then
that's good.
You feel good about it. And so the way we found other ways to score, other ways to win, you know, I felt like, man, that was a good, I mean, even though we'd love to shoot it great, that's why I told them this is good for us, you know.
Yep.
Got to come from behind at half, you know, we're in a situation we got to find other ways to win, and it's not going to go in every night, so we got to do that. So overall, I've just been pleased with like who they are, how they approach today, and because it's just not always like that. You know, you deal with 13 young women, you have moodiness, you have expectations, you have up and down. They just haven't been that way, and that's really different. And I think that makes them special and gives us a chance to be really good. So,
well, anytime you can win ugly, I mean, it's
Yeah.
always a bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it says a lot about you guys that you are able to win a game
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, a lot of teams win.
They wouldn't stick together. First time everything's going well, first time things go bad. Most teams, you know, it kind of gets fragmented a little bit, and this group's been really good about that.
Well, that's indicative of having a bunch of low ego.
That's it.
You know, and that's so rare these days.
You cut out the extra stuff.
Yeah.
I've just gotten to coach
Gives you a head
basketball.
start.
Yeah.
I mean, other than just, you know, fundraising and those type things, I haven't had the closed door meetings, the attitude issues, and, you know, it's just refreshing. It really is, because, you know, even with the best kids, you know, I mean, you got to understand, I mean, it's a player's market right now,
Yep,
you know,
yep.
And for kids to be unselfish in a player's market, I mean, even the fact we've got several kids, I know they could be making more money other places and doing different things, but it's for them right now, it's about winning. And I'm pretty psyched about that. It's pretty exciting for me.
So, you know, just as well as I do, to build a successful, sustainable program, it's more than just the X's and O's. It's about developing the player. It's about developing the person.
Right.
You know, and you've been able to bring in people, as we previously noted, that you've had long-standing relationships with. And so not only were you able to transplant, you know, people know your system, you're able to kind of transplant your culture as well.
Right.
So how are you able to utilize your veteran players to cultivate that culture onto your younger ones?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. Like, because the thing is, like, when your best players and your older players set an example, and they're your hardest workers, and they have, you know, the attitude of competitive spirit of team first, then it just trickles down and everybody else falls in line, you know? And so that's been really important. And we've seen that with this group. When your best players do that, I just think it really sets a tone.
Oh, it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, I've heard this said over and over again, and I'm sure it sounds kind of cliche, but, you know, coach-led teams are good.
Right.
Player-led teams win championships.
It takes you to a different level. So. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. But, yeah, our culture is important, and, you know, they don't really allow, you know, negative talk. They don't allow our leaders. They do a great job. And we've got a team full of leaders, so that part is unusual. So, you know, I can't predict, hey, we're going to win 20-plus games this year. We're going to go to the NCAA tournament, but I'm really excited about the journey with this team. And, you know, we'll get challenged quickly. You know, y'all know y'all have looked at our schedule, but go to Cancun next week, play UAB, North Carolina State's top 15 in the country, then go straight from Cancun to Dallas and play SMU. And then we go to UAB again, then Mississippi State, and then boom, we're in Sun Belt Conference play. So we'll find out really quick what we're made of.
Well, it's a good good test before you get into conference play. You should have some stuff tweaked by then.
100%. You figure out a lot and pretty much see everything. You know, you'll see bigs, you'll see really athletic guards, you'll see, you know, to give you a pretty good gauge. And it's a great opportunity for us to go play some really good teams and have a chance for a great moment, you know, or two. So we're excited about it.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you stopping in and taking some time to talk with us. You know, we're getting this thing rolling. DJ and I, we've been talking about football mostly for the first couple months of this podcast existence, but we're fully invested in basketball, men's and women's basketball for this season, and we appreciate you stopping by and joining us.
No, thank you guys. I love what y'all are doing, and thank y'all for taking the time to have me today. And so, yeah, definitely to the top.
Well, guys, we appreciate y'all joining us and listening to our interview today. Please be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. And if you want a good discount on Southern Miss merch, go to tothetopmerch.shopify.com and use the promo code NastyBunchPod, and you'll get 20% off your entire purchase. We appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.